Hey, speech students. It's me, Mr. Gibson, your speech teacher. I've got a lot of you. I believe there's now 58 speech students. Lots of speeches for me to grade. I'm excited. Um, so, you've just done your how-to speech. Many of you have turned that in. Some of you have contacted me and said you're still working on it, still going to try to get it in. Thank you for contacting me and telling me about that. If that's the case, if you're ever late on a speech, just email me and say, hey, I'm aware of it, I'm working on it, and I'm completely fine with that. Basically, I just don't want you to get overwhelmed at the end if you have too much work backing up on you and you just have to get it all done. That's not fun. So I just want to know that you're aware of what is expected of you and that you're trying your best. So thank you for handing those in, and thank you for contacting me if you need a little bit more time. This week, you have your persuasion speech. Yeah. This is due next Monday. I believe that's the 10th, October 10th. I think so. 10/10, 10/10/11. It's due. Now, this persuasion speech, we're now getting into these more formal speeches that require more organization, more thought from you. Now, when you had your introduction speech, that was just a, hey, this is who I am, how you doing, I'm excited to be in the class because this is my favorite class, right? That didn't happen too many times. And then the how-to speech, you could have your, whatever you were illustrating, whatever you were showing me how to do, you could kind of mask your speech around that. And so you had this outlet to say, focus the attention on. So I'm going to do this next and this next. The persuasion speech, you don't have props like that. You could have, a prompt, but certainly not your entire speech is going to be geared around showing me how to do something. You will instead be using your words to persuade me one way or another on a topic or an issue. This is going to require a few things, and I sent you out the requirements and an outline for the persuasion speech, and I think I mapped it out pretty well on what I expect in this speech and what little tips might help you in organizing it. But I'd just like to reiterate some of those things. When you give this persuasion speech, and pretty much any formal speech from here on out, you need to really focus on your introduction, because again, this format of giving a speech through the internet, recording yourself and maybe giving it to a couple family members and sending it to me, I think it can be really easy to just relax a little bit more and not do your 100% very best that you would do if you were going to give this speech in front of, say, 30 of your peers, right? Because I think there's a lot of benefit to doing that in front of a large classroom. It kind of forces you to step outside of your comfort zone even more and try your best to catch the attention of the audience. Whereas here, well, of course I'm going to listen to you because I'm the teacher, and of course your parents or your sibling are going to be there listening to you and not, dozing off or anything like that because they're your family. But when you have peers, when you have other schoolmates, I don't even know, anyway. When you have your friends and people who aren't your friends necessarily, but they're your same age, watching you give a speech, you feel this pressure in a way to up the ante, to try to catch their attention, to entertain them even a little bit, even if the intent of your speech is not to entertain. You want to grab their attention. And so when you do this persuasion speech, I'd really like you to focus on that introduction. Because the first 30 seconds, if you haven't grabbed the audience's attention in that 30 seconds, they're lost for the rest of your speech. They're not going to listen. And so the introduction is really important. No longer is it necessarily okay just to say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I will be persuading you to blah, blah, blah. That's not effective at all. So when you do this persuasion speech, it's very effective to start out with some statistics on whatever the issue might be, or to start out with a little anecdote. An anecdote is a little story that illustrates a point in a way. So thinking, what can I do to catch the audience's attention? What can I do to catch their attention that relates to my topic that I'm going to speak on? If you have an illustration, that would be great. Show the illustration and talk about it for a little bit, and then segue into your thesis on what you're going to prove or what you're going to persuade your audience to believe or try to believe. Right? So for this speech, that's, I think, one of the hardest things too, is you are no longer just informing your audience. You're no longer trying to just strictly entertain them. You are going to try to change their minds. That's hard to do. So you need to think really critically about the topic that you choose, because we have a huge, broad spectrum of different topics you could choose from, controversial issues that are okay. And I'm never going to grade your speech negatively if I don't agree with you. If I say, oh, I think differently about abortion, or oh, I think differently about politics in that way. Oh, I think differently about gun control, so I'm going to give them a D, even though they did spectacular on the actual speech. I just don't agree with them. I'm not going to do that. I will never do that. Some teachers might, but in my opinion, they shouldn't be teachers. So I will never grade you if I don't agree with your take on an issue. Basically what I'm looking at is, can you organize your speech in a way that is persuading? Whether or not you change my mind, you can't control that necessarily. But did you do everything you could? Did I sense that you care about your topic? Did I sense that you put in the organization, the time to research some things? Are you passionate about what you're speaking about? And is it something that is not overboard? Because certainly you can't change our minds completely about an issue, but you might take one aspect of the issue, one smaller act that you think we could all find a little, be on more common ground with, and focus on that part of the issue. So that's going to be your task. That's going to be the difficult task that you have. I would ask you to think a little bit more for this speech. Think about what can catch your audience's attention in the introduction. Declare your thesis there, what you're going to prove, and what you are going to try to change our minds about. Also in that introduction, try to find, and throughout your speech, try to find some common ground with your audience. When you're preparing this, just plan on assuming that those who you're giving the speech to, just assume that most of them will not agree with your take on the issue, even if we do. Just assume that. And then you want to call them to action, to do something, to change the way they think, and to show it in some way. So certainly, if you're trying to persuade us to, I don't know, go green completely, to change our houses and to be completely energy efficient in everything that we do, well, that's not practical. But to say something like, recycle your newspapers when you get them. If that's the end action that you want us to take home, that's a little more doable. Then if you plan your speech and organize it and present it well, and that's what you want us to do, I might consider that if I'm not already doing that, So think, when you call us to action, think what's practical, what's appropriate, and then call us to action. Call us to repentance, if you will, to change our ways, right? So this speech is going to require a little bit more thought from you, and so I hope it's not too difficult. I hope I'm not scaring you away, because really it's doable. It's just I think the hardest part is finding a topic that you care deeply about, and that you would like everyone to kind of feel the same about. and then present a speech based on that. So, and then conclude it nicely. Many of you are just ending your speeches. Don't just end this speech. Call us to action and then remind us why that action was important. So. If you have any questions, please give me a call or email me. I'd be glad to help you. So have a great week 7 and have a great time working on your persuasion speech. Bye.